Hello and welcome back to the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. We've had a little bit of a hiatus. This weather is not fun. I'm tired of cold. I don't want any more snow.
Hate the cold.
Yeah, you know what? This week's guest is agreeing with me. Cold is bad.
Yes.
And look, I'm going to be honest. I only want snow once a year.
Yeah.
I want it Christmas Eve. I want to see it because it's pretty on Christmas Eve, and that's it.
I can take it where I can see it on someone's screensaver, and that's about
That's good enough.
That's good enough for me.
Well, welcome to the show where we are a year late in doing this, but Chris Madden, the executive director for Lee Summit Cares, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it being here. Yeah.
You just had your year anniversary.
Been 1 year and 1 month to be exact. Having fun, loving the environment, loving the people here at Lee Summit. It's a great environment.
Well, let's start a little bit with you. I don't know,
Yeah.
you've spent a lot of this year just kind of running around telling people, "Hi, I'm Chris."
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's just kind of start kind of from the beginning of you and kind of what your background is and how you ended up at Lee Summit Cares.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I'm born and raised Kansas City, so Truce Elementary, Westport Middle, Paseo High School. So born and raised Kansas City, native. Got my undergrad at Lincoln University, Jefferson City, Missouri, home of the Blue Tigers, and then got my master's degree from UMKC in K through 12 administration. So I really got my start in education by being voluntold by one of my professors. He was like, because I started off my undergrad is in art, so in my mind I was going to be either a art curator. I was going to work at the Nelson Atkins Museum.
Right.
I actually got awarded a scholarship and admissions to Pratt Art Institute because I was going to be a metal sculptor. So I used to be heavy in rock and roll. So I used to listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana. I was a big, huge Nirvana head. Wore a kilt, all kind of stuff. Because when we went to Paseo was before they brought back in sports. So I'm in an environment where all the guys around me, they're listening to heavy metal and things like that. It was very eclectic. So I spent a lot of my time I went from wearing like suits and khakis and jeans. By the time I get to my senior year, I'm wearing kilts. I got a long braid, a beard.
I'm having trouble picturing it because, like, as I've known you now the last year, you're always in a suit.
Totally different. I mean, because you got an environment. So you're doing arc welding, and during that time when Paseo was Paseo for real, you have artists like Dale Chihuly that would come in, Patty Ward, Sheena, all these big name artists who I didn't know at all, but apparently everyone else thought that they were like the second coming. And so I would just work with them, and Joel Shapiro, all those artists. It's amazing that I can still remember those names. And so what kind of balanced me out is when I went to Lincoln University, which is a HBCU, and I kind of like looked at the environment. I was like, I can't wear a kilt at a HBCU. so got into that, got into SG, student government, really got acclimated to the environment. But what got me into student government, like I said, my professor, Mr. James Tatum, said, "Chris, you are a teacher." I was like, teachers don't make any money. Education doesn't make money. I want to be an artist. He was like, that sounds great, but you need to go into education. You have a gift, which coincides with what my art teacher at Paseo told me. She was like, you should be a teacher. You're great with kids. Teachers make no money. Why would I want to do what you do? It does not make sense. Her name was Rusty Newton. So finally, my senior year, I'm in St. Louis having a ball. My mother makes a bet with me because she said, you don't have a career. How about this? You got 6 months to stay in St. Louis. If you don't find anything, I need you to apply for this job as a teacher, as an art teacher at this new charter school called Derek Thomas. I was like, fine, I'll do it. Lo and behold, every job that I'm trying to look for in St. Louis doesn't work. I'm in North County, so I make a job. I try to literally try not to get hired. Like I literally went to the interview and talked about everything but education. But the teacher or the principal interviewed me, and she was like, well, thank you for the conversation. So I'm thinking she's walking me out the door. She walks me into the auditorium and says, meet your new art teacher.
There you go.
And so either she really, really saw that I was good at it, or she really, really needed an art teacher at that time. So lo and behold, I do about 4 or 5 years at that charter school, and then I started getting a reputation of being a fixer, which was the reputation I had in undergrad. Like I was always a person like, if the sky's falling, call Madden. So lo and behold, fixed that charter school, got asked to start a marching band program at another charter school. And then I think that how I got into not-for-profit was Boys and Girls Club was in need of a new teen director. I was like, let me try it out. The Thornberry unit. So anybody knows Thornberry, that's their largest facility.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of the teen program, and I run it like a business. So at the time, they're averaging maybe 20, 30 kids on a good day. We're doing 75 kids by 8 a.m. because I'm running like a business. I'm teaching kids how to do entrepreneurship. We're having meetings with people. So that's when I was talking to you before the podcast that by the time we get rolling, I'm having business meetings with WWE because Boys and Girls Club in Kansas City was the only program in Kansas City or in Boys and Girls Club that did not have a contract with WWE where they would get free money. Did that, didn't work out. So one of my good friends said, hey, the YMCA needs someone to fix their before and after care program in Johnson County. So fix that. It looked like kindergarten cop when I got there. It was literally like 90 to 100 kids everywhere. We fixed that. Then they said, okay, how about you fix like another program? So at that time, I think it had to be right when Trump came in the first term, that first year, it was called a Young Achievers program. So it's almost like our tag program, at least Summer Cares, but it was a college and career readiness program for the YMCA. It was so like their version of tag. Next thing I know, I'm fixing the program, and we're rolling where it's like 6 counties now. And so we're doing college and career programming. We're doing college tours where by the time I got to it, we ran it where for the spring break, we would go to a different state each day for the college tour during spring break. And we will raise money for it. So we will raise $230,000 one year, almost $300,000 the next year through grants and donations. And my passion became kids. So through those years, how I got to Lee Summit Cares was that I was fixing 2 other charter schools during COVID, where I went from being just one role, but then COVID hit. I was like every hat, you know how everyone did.
Yeah. We all figured out what we had to do.
So we were doing everything from 90/90 reports to doing facility transitions, doing MOUs, real world learning, and then I think it was one day I was kind of like exhausted. I was like, you know what? I've done a lot. I've fixed a lot of things. And I just so happened to see the application for Lee Summit Cares. And, you know, the branding wasn't that great, but it was okay. So I started looking at the videos. I was like, you know what? Let me try for this.
Well, that's kind of what I'm curious about. Like, I love that. Really, it turns out our teachers are right all along.
Yeah,
that they said, "Oh, you're going to go do this and work with kids,"
and I was like,
and
no.
They were right.
They were right.
It's like when we get older and we realize Mom was right all along.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, but it also hurts.
Yeah, because I was like, man, I would have rather be Indiana Jones, go to Egypt.
Right, yeah.
Nope, sorry. Yeah.
You know, what did you see? Because I think, and boy, this is going to hit 7 questions and topics all in one right
Perfect,
here.
Yeah.
But like, from the outside, and you look at, you saw the job posting for Lee Summit Cares, and you're right, the branding was a little all over the place. You know, so when you look at it, I think even here in town, you're still telling the story of what Lee Summit Cares is. I think there's probably a couple hundred of us, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They might know what Lee Summit Cares is.
Know Lee Summit Cares well enough to be able to say what they do. And look, I've been involved with them for several years. I don't think I could tell the whole story well.
Yeah.
And so what did you see that you're like, I want to go there and be a part of this?
Yeah. So I'm really big on advocating for youth. That's always been a hook for me. So superhero complex, you can call it whatever it is. I think I'm Batman, whatever. But looking at the history, I'm also a history buff. So knowing that this is the #1 coalition that prevents substance misuse, combats violence in Lee Summit community and Eastern Jackson County, that became a hook to me. Like, okay, you can make a real difference. So when you look at the records, being established since 1984, was called the DARE program. Then it grew, and then started working with partnerships, and it became a light and a beacon to those who need it. So from the parenting classes to the TAG program, which used to be called YAB, Youth Advisory Board, got transitioned to TAG. But then you had things like Celebrate Sober, where you made sure teens knew that, yes, you can have fun at prom or graduation, but like, let's make sure that you're safe. Hugs Not Drugs initiative, our drug take back program, where we get any type of substance and discarded with the police department. That became my passion, and so that kind of what led me into Lisa McCare, seeing the history of it. But then what also like solidified it was after watching some of the videos. So, you know, I did research, so I watched everything from the comical You Can't Flush This video that was
I remember that.
MC Hammer. Hilarious. But then also listen to the stories, like parents were saying that, hey, I was really struggling how to be a parent until I took the parenting class. I went to Parent University, and now because of that, I'm a better teacher. I'm a better parent. Those stories kind of resonated with me, and so that became my passion to apply for this role.
I think that I like that you brought both the teen part up and the old Parent University, which you are bringing.
We're bringing it back,
re-energizing.
We're re-energizing
that. I'm not sure if it's fair to say it went away, but I think re-energizing is probably a good word for it. But I think a lot of people don't know the breadth of focus there, that that this is an organization that is looking, yes, to be there for the teens, give them a voice, and show them some support and love, but also there for the parental side. Because look,
absolutely.
Hey, look, I'm assuming we're about the same age here.
Yeah.
And there are many of us, we don't know what we're doing with our kids.
Kids are different.
You know, they are different, but I mean,
and
like,
the parents are different,
needing help.
And the strategies are outdated. So you definitely need help. So, like, for example, not a shameless plug, but some of the feedback that we got from last year and even our most recent parenting classes, that, hey, my child needs special support. Either they're on a 504 plan, they have an IEP, I don't have the skills.
Yeah.
So how can we like get that? So now this year you'll start seeing us when we do the parenting classes, we're going to streamline what the subject is. And our biggest feedback was that we need strategies to help with my child that's struggling with or thinking differently with autism, or have special needs, or might be nonverbal. Can you do that? So our goal is, stage one is to do the community conversation version of a panel discussion, but then also partner with organizations that are already doing the work, like Brain Balance. Brain Balance is already doing the work. Why don't we just set the plate for them, bring the parents in, and give them a tier 1 training from our parenting instructors, and then say, hey, if you want detail, here's Brain Balance. So shout out to Brain Balance. But like those are things that's important to me, because again, our goal at Lisa McCares is to be the bridge between prevention strategies and the parents and youth and families that we serve.
Yeah, and I think that part where we're looking to as parents ask for the help,
yes,
and then as organizations like yours, we're to provide that, whether it's you know, you're providing the service or you're bringing in the people that have this service. Because I mean, look, I've spent my life in and around the world of autism. I have a special needs sister, and what we know of as autism and define has changed over the last
completely
30, 40 years. And it encompasses so many different things that's like what we thought was a strategy in the 80s and 90s.
Totally different.
Probably is not the strategy now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think for the parents that look at things like, how do I deal with this? How do I help my kid? I know I can't fix it.
Yeah.
Which is hard for us to admit, that we can't fix everything.
Yeah.
But then to have something there that's like, okay,
yeah,
here's a few steps to get closer.
Yeah, and that resonates with me, because my daughter is nonverbal. So my second daughter, Madison, she's nonverbal. So I knew firsthand that, like, if I can help anyone that's dealing with that, because me having a superhero complex and some things I can't fix, I mean, want to give parents the resources. I think that is the biggest hook for me. What I've seen in this year about Lisa McCares is how can we help people, give them the resources, and we may not be the fix, but we can be the light, or we can be the pathway, or we can be the bridge for the fix.
I think the thing is like, it's not always looking for the fix that's important, right?
Yeah.
It's just to be of better assistance, service,
yes.
right? You know, how can we help them navigate?
Yes.
Right. I mean, even my sister, who is now 46, 47,
Mm-hmm.
right? But a toddler.
Yeah.
how do we help her live her life? She lives with us now. We care for her.
Yeah.
But, how do we be better as pseudo parents, right?
Yeah.
That it's not always a fix, even though we want a fix.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where the second part of it with the teens is going to be so crucial, because now the world has changed so much. Giving teens access is always a passion of mine. So like one of the phrases that I've always coined, and people hear it, is that I want to make sure that teens have the resources to make informed decisions about their future. And that's always the drive for mine. So no matter what organization, whether I ran the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, whether I was a charter school, let's give teens the resources and access to make informed decisions about their future. And one of the beautiful things about TAG is that that's the whole purpose of TAG. The TAG is the Congress for Eastern Jackson County, and they are supposed to represent what's important to teens in the area of prevention. So even when I talk to TAG students, like, hey, do y'all really know like how important you are? No, we know a little bit. I was like, no, you guys are supposed to like help change laws for the purpose of the safety of your cohorts, of your parents. So as we build on this, once I saw that and started doing the research, that's where we're going, like bringing those things back. So April 7th, which is the first day of spring break at Lee Summit School District, we're going to take some teens back to Jeff City and be an advocate. And now more than ever, we got to have teens' voice and choice up there in the forefront with our congressmen.
The nice thing is we've got a couple, 2 or 3 good representatives that are accessible for our little community here.
Absolutely.
Right? And one of them in particular actually comes from a mental health background, so that's always nice.
Yes.
As well, I love that, and I think to kind of stick with that theme of assistance and fixing, I like too that it's focused on even helping the teens know the right questions to ask. Yes. Right? Like it might not be just they have the resources to get through, but like to even know, I should ask about this.
Yeah.
And this is how I advocate for myself, by either asking questions or asking for tools.
Yeah, because their passion is there. They are very aware. Our teenagers are now have more access to information than ever before. Now it's more so of, and I'm probably going to get in trouble because I was always a maverick. Now it's more so of showing them how to use the tools instead of having them being afraid of the tools. So like I was a maverick back in my educator days, where it's right around the time where every school got MacBook Airs, things like that, and all the teachers were scared of it. They thought it was like it's going to mess up on like time on task. I was like, no, I'm the art teacher. Let's incorporate it. So how about, since they have the MacBooks, let's incorporate that into the lessons. They got GarageBand. I'm dating myself. They got GarageBand. They got Photoshop.
They still use GarageBand.
Okay, bet. Okay, good. It's like have them a part of the lesson. So they was like, but you're an art teacher. I was like, yes. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to merge the color wheel with the circle of fifths, and for every note that you find, you're going to make it a designated color, and let's use it. Same thing with education. If they got their cell phones, show them how to use the cell phone besides just using social media. Let's do Google search. Let's use AI. Let's show them how the way to do it, and then they now have ownership of it. So I think that's one of the passions that I have, especially with TAG, is that give them the tools and let them figure out the how.
Yeah, and I think that's important to remember, because look, the technology onslaught is not going away.
Yeah.
I mean,
because we got the new AI that just landed today.
New stuff all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And as much as we want to like have our debates as the olds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of maybe they shouldn't have their phones all the time. Maybe they shouldn't have all that stuff is good and worthy talking about, but
show them how to use it.
At the same time, they're there. And so even with restrictions, they're going to be on those devices using those things.
Mm-hmm.
If we can help them know how to use it to the best of whatever their ability and judgment is.
Absolutely.
And talk about judgment.
Yes.
And talk about tools. And you brought up AI. My son, we've been debating AI a lot.
And
he's very he's very he's very strict with himself about I don't want it to use other people's work to make my work better.
Right.
Like he doesn't want to cross those lines. So talking about the conversations we've had are about, okay, but how do you use it as a tool? How can it help you be better, whether it's as a prompt, whether it's to offer suggestions?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to use it to create and steal other people's work.
Right, because now they have ways to check that. But
you
can use the skills.
But there are tools.
Yes.
And so how to put that in. And those are great conversations. Conversations we should have amongst ourselves as adults and professionals.
Yeah, because the genie's already out the bottle.
Yeah.
So you might as well learn how to use it.
I have I host and produce another show that's in the news media world. And we've had, for the last year, almost every episode that we've done somehow talks about AI.
Yes.
And where it lies in the world of journalism. And the ethical conversations around it are fantastic. And they're the ones we should be having, right? Like, yeah, it's a tool. It can do all of these things. How do we use it?
Right.
How best to use it? And there was one group that they even said before we even used it, we had that conversation first about what rules are we setting?
Yeah.
As far as creative and those things. And so I think for us to be having those conversations with the teens is so important so that they have that background, that base to start with.
Yeah, because I mean, if we want to be honest, there's been a form of AI we've been using for the last 5 to 10 years anyway. So if you use from Alexa to anything like that, any of those apps, that's pretty much a low-level version of AI anyway.
Search engines have always been AI.
It's been AI, so therefore, you might as well learn how to do it and then show people the and the best way we can is like, here are the parameters and here's some moral guidance towards that so that we're not misusing it or harming other people either intentionally or unintentionally.
To try to alleviate fears, I always use this example, and this is putting this out to the world is going to get me in a little bit of trouble. But I think of my in-laws, who in the late '90s, early 2000s, were so scared to use Amazon or other things because they didn't want to shop online, right?
Right.
Because then your information's out there,
yeah.
and I just had to remind them, you use your credit card at a store.
It's the same thing.
Every time you swipe that card somewhere, that's the internet.
Yes.
You are doing an internet transaction. And so I think that kind of like, putting it perspective, I guess is the right word there, is important for us to remember that like AI's been around. Huge leaps and bounds in the technology lately.
Yes.
But it's been around.
So just how we use it. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about now. We can touch so many more people now by using the strategies and connecting people. So like, for example, in the realm of prevention, now using AI and being more intentional with our community conversations, we can show people how to start their own business in the realm of prevention. So that's the reason why one of our catchphrases is prevention through possibilities, like showing teens that these are careers that we still need you, and you can use AI or not use AI, but like you can use these tools or these skills to help benefit other people. And that's always going to be the passion.
You just brought up community conversations.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about those. And what are you trying to do with those? I know you're hitting a lot of different topics, but what's kind of what's your driving force behind those?
Yeah, the driving force. So last year we were beta testing a lot of things for community conversation. We wanted to see what was important to the city, what was important to the community, to have dialogue. So the tier one for community conversation is basically for us to have a dialogue. Let's talk about how can we be better citizens? What are some subject matters that is important to us? And then tier two is like, okay, what do we do next? So for example, this year we're going to focus on 2 buckets: substance use prevention, substance misuse prevention, and then mental health. We're going to focus just on those 2 buckets. So you'll see 5 community conversations about substance misuse and 5 community conversations about mental health. We were supposed to have one tomorrow about men's mental health, but because of the weather, things like that, we will postpone it to like next Tuesday. Same location, same time, but having those conversations. So because sometimes it's good to just let people talk and hear from each other, because we all have different perspectives. So whether you live in Jackson, Johnson, Clay, Class, or Platt, we all are concerned about what happens to our kids. We're all concerned about how can we be better people. We're all concerned about what is the world going to look like in the next 4 or 5 years. So let's have a community conversation. Let's have a dialogue about that. So if we're talking about in the realm or the bucket of mental health, no matter what you're going through, men, we deal with mental health. There's some conversations that we don't have because there's might be some alpha male perspective, or we have to take on things, but there's some conversations that I believe will be healthy to say, hey, I might struggle with this as a parent. What does it mean to be a man in the year 2025 versus the 1980s? Like, for example, my grandfather pretty much raised me. I'm a man in my 40s that was raised by a man who was born in his 40s. So my concept of manhood is totally different. It irritates my wife because my wife is 6 years younger than me. So a lot of things that I'll do is you make your bed hard, you roll over often. So that's the catchphrase that my grandfather would say. Hey, life's going to be tough. Just figure it out. So there's a work ethic that I have that my wife has to literally force me to take a day off.
It's funny how sometimes those phrases we grow up with stick with us, and and not always for the better. Like I tease my mother, who I am in the last few months of my 40s, and my mom just turned 80. But growing up, her thing was always don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like don't get too worked up over things.
Yeah.
You always keep perspective was what she meant. But I feel like sometimes I take that a little too hard, too seriously, and I'm so quick to move on from things that I forget that details matter.
Yeah, that's good.
You know,
point.
sometimes like when I was coming up in the news media and I started to be an editor, like, oh wait, I need to slow down a little bit and make sure that these little bits. And so that's a thing that I've had to fight. But yeah, I always remember don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, so that's why like these conversations are going to be needed. I think the next one we're going to focus on next month, giving you a preview, is a panel for teens, like the State of the Youth. Because we used to do the State of the Youth years ago before COVID. We're going to bring that back and beta test it and do a small version of it. It's almost like the youth led mental health forum we did with Prodale and Rediscover last year, but it's going to be a smaller version. But it's mainly for specifically substance misuse. Like what are teens talking about? Is it talking about vaping? Is it about fentanyl? Whatever it is, let the teens have a conversation and have panel discussion, and then we can talk about, okay, what's next steps? What do you actually need?
I love that, and I love merging, the things of their perspectives. You get the adult perspective, you get the expert perspective.
Yes.
And this is a good time to know too that I also, my other business, we do produce a teen podcast that Lisa McCares is the sponsor of, called I Can Relate, and that started from a CARES teen conversation, a town hall, and it was great because we were talking about suicide in these group of all adults, and I mean, let's be fair. I think I'm the only one that wasn't like medical professional in there. All these people had letters after their name. I got none, and at one point I said, well, why aren't we asking the kids this? And so that spun off into this big. They did a survey, and then we did a couple of forums with these kids, and it was great to hear their perspective. Some of it confirmed what we thought we knew.
Yeah.
Others of it were we don't know jack, which is important for us as parents and adults to remember. Yeah. That what we think we know because we were teens once doesn't mean we know what the teens now
it's totally different
think. And it should be that way.
Yeah.
But it's a good reminder. And so I love, we're now in the fifth season, I think.
Fifth season of this. I Can Relate.
Of I Can Relate. And it's every year's a little bit different, even if some of the kids are the same.
Yeah.
But it just gives them a voice. And just for them to watch their confidence of, there's a space in here that I can come in
and be myself
and be myself.
Freely. Yeah.
And if there's something that they think is important to be talked about, they can talk about it.
And it's not tied down to an assignment. So now there's more investment. I even remember a long time ago when we did assignments, and although it was fun, it's a grade, and so there's a pressure with this environment. One of the reasons why Lisa McCares is a proud sponsor is because we see the benefit of teens having voice and choice and being able to be free to have thoughts without being condemned or structured or gleaned or moved around for the purpose of a grade or things like that. Let them talk and share their voice and choice, which is important to me.
The only thing I try to remind them every once in a while is, your parents are going to listen to this, right?
Yeah.
I always tell them my role is to kind of be a coach, kind of help them figure out the best way to talk about the topics they want to talk about. And then to push the record button. That's about it.
Yeah.
I really try to let them kind of handle it all themselves. They come up with the topics. They talk about them on their own. But there have been a few times where I just say, now, are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about it. You can say what you want to say.
But it is recorded.
I'm just going to remind you, it's recorded. Yeah. It's out to the world. And your folks are going to listen.
But
and only one time
Have they
One
pulled
time
back?
did they pull back, and it was shockingly enough, they were talking about relationships.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And a couple of them went, oh, yeah, maybe I don't want to go that far.
There you go. There you go. Well, I mean, and even with that is a beautiful thing, because if you look at the history, a lot of our great revelations and revolutions was sparked from teenagers sharing their voice and being brave enough to share it.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing of it. They're in that time, that sweet spot where you're like, I would say 17 to like 23, 24, where you're fearless and nothing harms you. You're Kevlar chest.
Yeah.
And that's the point where you want to, because that's where that great thought happens and the world can change in my opinion, for the better most of the time, because they have a fresh lens of what the world could be.
We've only done 2 episodes this season.
Wow.
But I will tell you that every year, each member of that group, at least once, there is just this surprising moment of where you hear them, you watch them, and you're so proud, because it's like, yeah, we can. As olds, we don't want to give it up to the next generation, right? Like we always want to say this generation doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But there is a moment for each individual member,
Yeah.
at least once, if not multiple times during the school year when we do it, and where it's they've got it.
Yeah.
Here's the keys.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you can drive now.
And even as a former educator, sometimes there's melancholy, because like, man, is it even sticking? And those bright spots mean the world, because it's like I can rest in, at least in that bucket or that area, because this generation is not going to let that part of it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I love seeing that. And it makes us better too.
Yeah.
Right. Like we get different perspective on things and do that. Well, tell me what are you excited about, Lisa McCares, in the coming months? You know, we're early in the year.
It's early in the year.
So what are you excited? What's coming up?
So the main ones is, like I said, the community conversations. We're going to try to have at least 10 of those once a month. Seniors, the next major event will be Celebrate Sober. We're going to try to do that right around the graduation, where basically is giving resources. We're asking for teens to just find ways to post on social media how we can celebrate sober. We want you to have fun, but we want you to be able to know that you don't have to land on risky behaviors to celebrate who you are and have fun. Because we all went to prom. I think I was allowed to go to my senior prom, and my mother probably regretted it, but we were able to do that. And then graduation, because that's another big deal, is like graduation's coming up. We want you to have fun, celebrate this end of a monumental time, but then transition, like wherever you go, whether you go to a trade, start your own business, go to a college or university, celebrate that with excitement. I think the next major deal after that will be our senior send-off. So we are priding ourselves. There used to be an event called Lee Summit Got Talent, a long time ago, where it was a lot of fun, and then it kind of transitioned out. So we're not there yet to bring back Lee Summit Got Talent. However, I believe in celebrating seniors and celebrating students when they accomplish something. So I believe the last Sunday in May is going to be our senior send-off. I believe we got about 6 or 7 seniors as part of our tag program. Our goal is to raise enough funds so that each senior can walk away with no less than $1,000 cash in hand. Parents, I'm sorry, it's going to go directly to them. It's going to have their name on the check, so you cannot put it on whatever you think is. If they want to go to college, they can use it for that. If they want to go to a trade, if they want to start their own business, we want to say thank you for being an upstanding citizen. Thank you for being a student that we can depend on. And so this is free and clear. You don't have to like do whatever. Now, whatever you do with taxes and everything like that, that's between you and your household, but it'll be given to you. But then also give you resources. So it'll be an event, maybe 90 minutes max, because I know seat time is always critical. We learned our lesson from going to Mary's breakfasts, things like that. Seat time is important, but like say thank you for being a great person. Here's a small donation towards your future.
That's awesome. And I love too that it is to them.
Yes.
I mean, because that's a great lesson in and of itself too, is not only somebody's thanking them and supporting them, but how do I take this gift and be the most responsible, put it to the best use, that kind of thing. look, that's hard. We've talked about it. My son is one of those seniors.
Yeah.
And we have talked a lot about, I wish that I had had more lessons in how to deal with money.
Oh, my goodness.
As a kid, so that I wasn't as stupid when I was in my 20s and 30s.
This is going to sound real aggressive. I really want to punch my 20-year-old self in the face.
Oh, yeah.
With all the money that I was managing, if I would have just put some things in the savings, I'm saying back in my day. Oh, God, I'm getting old now. But, I remember when gas was like 99 cents a gallon, and you could take $10 to fill up the gas tank. And I was a waiter for a restaurant called Park Place, and I made so much money in tips that I didn't even cash my check. We used to make $600 a night in tips because it was the highest. I would want to punch him in the face because all that money. So
all that money, yep.
So now with these teens who are way smarter than we were when I was younger, these teens are doing amazing work. They're upstanding citizens. They're busy, and so anytime they meet, they don't waste time. Why not give them the least amount we can do is $1,000 and say, here's something towards your future. Whatever your future is, you've proven to us that you know how to be responsible because that's your part of TAG. Instead of doing something else, you're doing something towards prevention work. The least we can do is give you something to say thank you.
That is awesome. If people want to follow along with Lisa McCares, if they want to know more, so they can stay up to date, where can they do that?
You can go to lscares.org. That's the fastest way. We try to update our website as much as possible. And then also you can find us on Lisa McCares on Facebook. Instagram, we're getting better on that, but then also LinkedIn. But the fastest way is to go to our website, lscares.org, or you can just email me at chris.maddens, that's chris.madden at lscares.org. Email me, and we'll try to get as much information to you as possible because we would love to help you, those who are in need. But also, if you would like to partner with us to help us invest in more students, we would love to do that as well.
Awesome. Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
We'll see you at the next events.
See you next events. Take care.
All right. That'll wrap us up for this week. We'll talk to everybody next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.